Welcome back to Crawford-Clark Close-Up. The countdown is well and truly on to the release of the hugely anticipated No Time to Die, the 25th Bond adventure, reaching audiences in less than 3 months. Just ahead of our look back to the Pierce Brosnan era of Bond, we present a look back over 53 years of the opening motif, an idea which originated with graphic designer Maurice Binder on Dr. No, the first film in the series, by shooting down the inside of a pinhole camera to create a gun barrel effect. This quickly became a beloved trademark of the Bond series and has become a requisite for each successive adventure ever since. For this special episode, we're taking you back through all 24 of the official gun barrel designs to date, analysing each one and ranking the worst to the best. From every actor's pose to the overall look of the gun barrel itself, we've scrutinised each one of these, so let us know your own ranking in the comments below and tell us how we did with ours. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Please click subscribe at the top of the page if you enjoy this video so you don't miss out on any new content as soon as we upload. Come and find Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and give us a follow on Twitter. You can also drop us an email to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com with suggestions for future reviews on the channel in this new year. With that said, let's get started. Coming in last place at number 24 is Quantum of Solace. One of the ugliest looking things in the entire series, Craig's second gun barrel ends the film and is so short and aggressive that you barely get any time to acknowledge its existence. The gun barrel design itself is awful, the walk across, more of a run, and gunshot are also terrible. The series' worst by some margin. Up next at number 23 is Diamonds Are Forever. From the shimmering lighting on the gun barrel to the piss-poor rendition of the Bond theme, this is one of the weakest of all the Bond gun barrels. The walk across screen and the music once again don't sync up either, making this overall one of the weakest efforts. Taking the number 22 spot is A View to a Kill, the weakest of all of Moore's gun barrels, which has the distinction of opening with a disclaimer, but that's all that makes this unique. The aspect ratio is all over the place, the gun barrel itself looks whitewashed, and the Bond theme is so fast you can't enjoy this in any way. If you can convince me otherwise, please do so in the comments. It's painful to have to put this one so low on our list, considering this is one of the series' very best films, but at number 21 we have From Russia with Love. Less striking than its predecessor, Dr. No, the dots don't fill the entire screen from left to right. There seems to be a much faster pace to the Bond theme this time around, and the gunshot is out of sync with the beat of the score. The blood is also less pronounced. This is also the second time in succession that the final dot fades out at the end of the sequence. Our number 20 may also be a surprise, as we have Goldfinger, a jivier rendition of the Bond theme third time around, which improves on From Russia. Apart from this and improved definition to the cascading blood, the gun barrel is remarkably similar to the preceding film, but only a marginal improvement. Number 19 is The Spy Who Loved Me, a suitably aquatic sounding Bond theme orchestration and the first of Moore's second gun barrel pose variations that will see us through to A View to a Kill. Solid but not as good as his previous two, as the Bond theme itself seems to be in a rush to finish. At 18 we have another Moore outing, Octopussy. The loungiest of all the gun barrels to date, Barry returns to score a fairly forgettable gun barrel sequence when compared to some of his other contributions to the series. At 17 we bring things a little more up to date with Skyfall. Craig's pose in his third outing is a little limp, but David Arnold's orchestration as the gun barrel leads into the end credits makes up for this. It's a classy addition to have the gun barrel logo changed to 50 years, with the reminder that James Bond will return. At number 16 we have Moonraker, another driving rendition of the Bond theme used this time around, but the sequence itself is remarkably reserved given the tone of the film this is the precursor for. We're treated to the same confident pose from Moore, but with a pale yellow background to the gun barrel, giving it a little distinction. At number 15 we have, perhaps controversially, Die Another Day. Not nearly as offensively over the top as it could have been, the 3D bullet gimmick is a striking touch to another sharp looking gun barrel from the Brosnan era that opens Bond's 20th outing with a bang. At number 14, we have the most recent design from Spectre. Bringing things up to date, we have the most traditional Craig gun barrel of the 4 to date, which recycles the old gun barrel style, which ditches the 3D effect of the barrel that Daniel Kleinman introduced on GoldenEye, and the effect of the blood looks cheap and falls too fast compared to all the pre-Craig films. This is also the only gun barrel to open on an entirely black background with text, "The dead are alive," before the next scene. At number 13, we have The World Is Not Enough, a decent effort for Brosnan's third Bond from returning composer David Arnold, adding in some electronic, synthesised sounds to the Bond theme itself, which sounds a little jarring, though the gun barrel itself is crisp. This gun barrel has the distinction of being the only time in the series that the dot opens up in the top right of the screen on the first shot, and it's of Bond himself for the only time to date. At number 12, it's Casino Royale. In a real departure from the remainder of the series, the gun barrel is the pre-titles capper this time around, with Craig's Bond dispatching a thug in a bathroom by shooting him, which makes up the gun barrel. It's merely Craig's Bond turning and firing, but it's a welcome jolt to remind us all that Bond is back. Just narrowly missing out on our top 10 is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one and only Lazenby gun barrel. Determined to do it differently to his predecessor, it was Lazenby's choice to drop to one knee for his final pose, which of course foreshadows the events of the film. The only other gun barrel to credit Broccoli and Saltzman, aside from Dr. No, were treated to a superb Bond theme orchestration this time around, which drives the gun barrel forward. The gun barrel dot also fills to a deep red for the first time in the series. Lazenby looks like he's on a treadmill filming the walk across screen, however, as it doesn't sync up very well with the score, but otherwise, much like the film, this is an intriguing anomaly within the series. Kicking off our top 10, we have Thunderball and the first Connery pose for one of his Bond films. Whilst he's centre-framed and the walk into frame is fine, the pose itself when firing the gun is very poor and unbalanced. The orchestration of the Bond theme is improved from the previous entries, and the gun barrel opens for the first time on the opening shot of the pre-titles, a trait that would continue up to Die Another Day currently. At number 9 is The Man with the Golden Gun. Much of the same with this follow-up to Live and Let Die, except Barry is back on scoring duties for Moore's second Bond adventure, and this is another solid gun barrel. Our number 8 is Tomorrow Never Dies, another solid Brosnan gun barrel with David Arnold's orchestration of the Bond theme being one of the most traditional sounding since the early days of the series. For our 007th favourite, we go back to the very beginning. Dr. No takes its time and is one of only 2 films in the whole series to date that includes Broccoli and Saltzman's names in the gun barrel itself. It's very primitive sounding with the technical whirs and bleeps, and is the first of Bob Simmons' 3 gun barrels. The pose looks a little bit laboured, but the sound of the gunfire is on point, and the blast of the main chords of the James Bond theme are exciting when heard for the first time. This is also the only gun barrel, before Casino Royale that is, to open straight into the film's title sequence. Just sitting outside our top 5 is The Living Daylights. Both of Dalton's gun barrels are impressive. His walk into frame exudes sophistication, and his gun barrel pose is no nonsense and realistic. This is ultimately just the lesser of his 2 contributions. The orchestration of the Bond theme from John Barry has lots of bass and is one of his best versions of the signature track, and Barry's last contribution to the series. Into the top 5, we start with Live and Let Die. Moore strides across the screen with confidence for his first gun barrel, and we get the introduction of the first of 2 more variations of the sequence during his Bond tenure. George Martin's funky update of the Bond theme heightens the excitement, that much more for what's to come. A memorable effort. At number 4, we have You Only Live Twice, the most intriguing and ultimately pleasing to the eye of the Connery Bond gun barrels, with a mysteriously downbeat orchestration of the Bond theme, well-pronounced blood, and a blood-red dot to close the sequence. In third place, we've got GoldenEye. Daniel Kleinman brings Bond into the 1990s with a 3D shimmer on the gun barrel, and Pierce Brosnan has the best gun barrel pose of all the Bonds to date. Eric Serra's arrangement of the Bond theme is also excellent, the same of which, of course, can't be said for his score as a whole. In second place, though it's difficult to distinguish between our top choices as both are as brilliant as each other, we have two films with showcases from two of the series' one-off composers, the first of which is For Your Eyes Only. Whilst Bill Conti's Eyes Only score as a whole divides many a Bond fan, it's hard to fault the brilliance of this opening sequence. There's an urgency to the Bond theme, Moore's Gunbarrel War compose is spot on in sync with the music, and the gunshot sound itself is one of the best since You Only Live Twice. An explosive way to enter the 1980s, a new decade for 007. So our number one pick goes to 80s decade ender, License to Kill. Michael Kamen delivers the most urgent and effective variation of the Bond theme. Dalton's pose is spot on in sync with the music, and the whole Gunbarrel delivers the excitement you want as you're about to sit down for 2 hours of Bond escapism. So that's our ranking of the now legendary James Bond Gunbarrel sequences. The great thing about these rankings, and especially where Bond is the subject, is just how different they are between fans of the series. We don't have long until we can see if they finally get Craig's Bond Gunbarrel right for his swan song. Let us know your own ranking in the comments below, and also let us know what you think of our order, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel at the top of the page for more regular content just like this. Look out for our reviews of the Pierce Brosnan era soon, as James Bond will return in the countdown to No Time to Die. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.